Welcome back, miners. This is Amber Johnston from Student Wellbeing.
And this is Nathan Asball, a counselor here at Student Wellbeing, and it's time for your morning cup of joe. Hey Amber, I read a really fascinating story the other day written by Kat Eschner from the Smithsonian Magazine. It was written in December 30th of 2016. What made it interesting was actually talked about coal miners. I know we were at a university that deals a lot in mines, and I think, what is it used to be called, UMR?
Yeah.
And what did that stand for?
University of Missouri-Rolla, but before that it was the Missouri School of Mines.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know we have a mining program here, so... Anyway, in 1911, coal miners would use a particular type of early warning system to detect carbon monoxide and other poisonous gases underground. One of the most famous and prolific was the use of the canary.
Huh.
Now, I had heard of this before, but I really wondered why canaries and what the purpose of taking a canary down to a mine shaft was. But the idea of using canaries comes from John Scott Haldane, whom some people know to be as the father of oxygen therapy. And his research on carbon monoxide led him to recommend using canaries. He suggested using a sentinel species, which is an animal more sensitive to the colorless, odorless carbon monoxide and poisonous gases, would help humans survive quicker if there was some kind of issue. So, I mean, if you could imagine descending into a mine shaft, knowing there could be poisonous gases there, or that are odorless, tasteless, and colorless, you wouldn't know they're happening. It would be really nice to have some kind of early warning system. Otherwise,
Right.
it's, I guess, the healthiest man is the man that warns everybody else, because you see your friends around you starting to get sick and dying. But they used canaries. And Haldane suggested canaries because, like other birds, they need immense amount of or quantities of oxygen to enable them to fly to heights that would make people altitude sick. Their anatomy allowed them to get a dose of oxygen when they inhaled and another dose of oxygen when they exhaled, because they held extra air in sacs in their bodies. This would cause them to get sick or die quicker than most humans. Unlike other animals, canaries would get a twofold dose of air and any poisons the air might contain, giving miners this early warning system. And so, if you were down in the mines and you saw your canary get sick or start to die, you knew that something was wrong, and that would be the alert: everyone get out of the mine, everyone to the surface, because there would be bad gases in the chamber where you were working. And you had to air those out before you could continue work, and hopefully not have to buy another canary. Well, the practice ended on December 30th, 1986, when they came up with a new gadget, a new gizmo, that had an electronic sniffer, so it would take in air and it gave a digital readout of the gases in the room. And that way they wouldn't have to take canaries down anymore. Although, according to the Smithsonian, some miners didn't like that idea because they really came to see the canaries as kind of pets. They would take down and they would whistle with them and sing to them while they worked. But we know that the ethical treatment of animals is important, and so why use canaries when you have the technology that's more accurate and safer to use? So, now here's the question. Amber, how do you suppose this relates to mental health?
Well, I can see us looking for things like an early warning system in regards to our mental health. Many of us have different things mental health wise going on, even just experiencing stress and overwhelm. We all have warning signs that are individual to us as people, that show that maybe we're feeling a little bit stressed, maybe we're feeling overwhelmed, maybe we have depression or anxiety, and maybe it's getting a little out of control and we need to go see a doctor and get our medicine adjusted. Or maybe we have ADHD and maybe our medications aren't being monitored correctly. And using that analogy, it helps us kind of look at what our mental health state is and what ways that we can watch and keep an eye on it.
Absolutely. And so you mentioned some of the conditions I think that an early warning system would be great for. Depression, anxiety, overwhelm, just those moments when you feel like you can't continue forward. Having some early warning detection system before you got into full-blown depression, or until you started having panic attacks. If you could do something to intervene well before then, you can kind of get out of the mind, so to speak, and get into the fresh air and get some help. And I think that that's a really great thing that we could develop as people, early warning detection systems, that would help us to live happier, healthier lives. I mean, to be honest, everyone, not necessarily just people with a mental illness, all of us have moments which we go down and we struggle with depression. I mean, all of us experience loss, tragedy, sadness, disappointment, even certain levels of perfectionism in our lives. And we need that early warning detection system to say, okay, I'm starting to notice that some things aren't right. And I need to be able to take care of myself, and now's the time to intervene. So as you're doing therapy with different clients, of course, keeping confidentiality, and we want to make sure everyone knows when they come here they have perfect confidentiality. But what are some of the canaries that you come across when you're doing counseling with people here at the counseling?
One of the biggest ones I would have to say would be physical appearance. If you've got somebody that's always been very picky about their clothes or how they do their hair, maybe they always wear makeup and have their nails done and their hair just right, and they come in and their clothes are stained up and it looks like they've been wearing them a few days, or maybe it looks like they haven't showered in a while and their nails are all chipped. All of those can be signs, or any level of those can be signs that somebody's mental health is suffering.
I've noted too, if the hygiene starts to kind of collapse in on itself a little bit, when you see people really starting to struggle. Maybe they're not brushing their teeth. Maybe when you walk in, you notice an odor about them that's maybe not the freshest. Or maybe their clothes aren't the cleanest, like you're saying.
Sudden weight gain or weight loss. If somebody suddenly gains a whole bunch of weight, or they lose a whole bunch of weight and they're not dieting, and it's not intentional, then it could be something medical, or it could be something mental health related.
Absolutely. I also think that sleep, when you see people's sleep patterns get really out of whack, either they're sleeping way too much, or maybe they're suddenly staying up all hours of night, pacing around, not getting sleep, not getting enough sleep, they're missing classes, they're skipping important events. And if they're a part of a fraternity or a sorority, or maybe a part of a design team, and they're missing important meetings, they're missing important activities, especially related to skipping tests or anything related to grades or their success and future success here at S&T, or in whatever aspect of life, then that's kind of a warning sign too. Are there any other warning signs you can think of right now which you see that are pretty prominent, that you see a lot in counseling?
One of the best, like a really good, very early warning sign that I can think of is actually in like Snickers commercials. Snickers commercials are based on the whole you're not yourself when you're hungry, and how the people are acting badly, and they show another actor with a different voice, like and trying to basically saying that somebody's acting out of character. That whole idea of somebody acting out of character, maybe it's somebody who's very meek typically, and now they're being very aggressive, or maybe it's somebody who's very quiet and they're being really loud. That in and of itself is a warning sign that something's wrong. In the case of the Snickers commercial, it's a joke and it's to sell Snickers bars, but it's also mental health wise. If I see a client that's behaving in a way that's outside of their normal behavior patterns, that's definitely a warning sign to me that something's wrong.
I think it's very cool when some people put in a UCare report and say something along the lines of, hey, they're avoiding all of their friends. I think social isolation sometimes is a really big sign that, hey, something's not quite right. This person that you and I were best friends, and now all of a sudden you're not talking to me, so I need to put in a UCare report. To just have maybe res life, or maybe have someone know that there's something going on, so that you don't have to carry that burden alone. I mean, part of understanding people's warning signs and seeing those warning signs, if you see them in someone else, you don't have to shoulder that burden by yourself. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. But I think this covers a lot of the basic types of canaries that we see that can warn us of impending problems that someone might have in terms of their mental health, or in terms of their overall well-being. So once we know what our canaries are, it leads us to the creation of what is called in mental health a relapse prevention plan. Now you'll hear about that in drug and alcohol, you'll hear about that in mental health, and sometimes when it comes to people who are having suicidal thinking or thoughts of self-harm, or even thoughts of harming others, sometimes they could be called safety plans. And so either way, knowing what your canaries are could be an important thing, but then sharing your canaries with other people that you trust that are safe, those little pieces of information that warn others of upcoming problems can assist them to help you. So as you've written some safety plans, who are people that your student that you're working with might talk about sharing their safety plan with? What are some people that you've seen in the past?
Typically, it's usually a roommate, somebody that's around them on a day-to-day basis, often close friends they'll share it with. Depending on the severity of what's going on, they may, if it's something very severe situation, they may share it more widely than they would if it's a more just more of a situation that can be treated in a less severe manner. Like, not when we're talking about self-harm and somebody that self-harms, you're going to want to share that with more individuals to kind of keep an eye on you than you would if it's cases of somebody that gets overwhelmed and may be on the lesser end of that overwhelm area.
Right. So what I'm hearing you say is that if it's more severe, you might want to share it with more people.
Yes.
Surround yourself with more support and people
Right.
that can keep an eye on you.
And family members are good, friends, some cases coworkers, depending on what the behavior is. So if you've got somebody that let's say it's drug and alcohol, and you have a severe addiction, you're going to want to share that with a few more people than you would, again, if it was a more minor issue, just because it holds that accountability factor in there too.
I really like the idea of sharing it with other people. One thing we have here at the Wellness is that we have these groups, and one of them that we run for drug and alcohol is Minors for Recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a group of other people that you can share your experiences with and talk to them, and you can call each other, and you can call upon members of the group that are having the same struggles you are. We have another group that's the safety group that's very similar, and I think it's really great that people can have these groups and have these friends and family they can speak to. As long as they keep in mind that they want to share this information with people that they trust.
Right.
And so I think sometimes we can share information with people that might not have our best intentions at heart. And so, being careful, sharing with people that you trust, I think is very important as well. When the miners saw the canaries get ill or die, they knew to evacuate the mine. And so I think part of a relapse prevention plan or part of a safety plan is kind of how the miners had their evacuation plan. Because if everybody's running up and only half the people are on the elevator and they start going up, well, that's not good. So they knew how many people were down in the mine, how many people were in each section, and they would call out to one another, and they would make sure everyone's on the elevator, and they would all get up into the surface so they could breathe and live. And knowing that you have a set kind of evacuation plan, a plan of action, I think is really important. Part of what we do here at S&T in our counseling services is that we help create safety plans with people or relapse prevention plans. And we just want to offer that to individuals who might be struggling or might be having difficulties. Please schedule an appointment with S&T Student Wellbeing here at our counseling and see if we can assist you in creating one of these relapse prevention plans that will help you to make good selections, good ideas, make a plan where you can reach out for help, where you can go to different places that are safe, where you can do activities that are also safe. And so we invite you to come up to the Norwood building anytime to set up an appointment. Well, I think that covers just about everything, and we really hope to see you again and talk to you soon.
Okay. Thank you guys, and have a great day. For more information about mental health and wellness, contact Student Wellbeing at 204 Norwood Hall. And you can also give us a call at 573-341-4211.
The song Happy Days is brought to us by Music from www.free-stock-music.com.